You walked into the room and already knew, before anyone spoke, before anything happened. The air told you. Two people not looking at each other. One laugh arriving half a second too late. A jaw held just slightly too tight. You read all of it, instantly, automatically, the way other people read text on a page, without choosing to, without being able to stop. And then you spend the rest of the evening carrying something nobody else is carrying, because you saw it, and you cannot unsee it. People who see what others miss were not born with a superpower. They were built into one by something they survived. It is easy to think this is sensitivity or intuition, or a gift they were simply born with. That explanation is only half the picture. This is not a gift they were born with. It is a skill their nervous system built in response to an environment that required it. The child who grew up reading emotional weather became the adult who reads every room. The survival skill outlived the threat. This is not sensitivity. This is hypervigilance that became perceptiveness. The same system, different name. Once you understand where the seeing came from, you cannot look at the skill the same way, or at the child who built it. People who see what others miss grew up in environments where missing something was not an option. That knowledge is extraordinary. It is also exhausting, and it began in a home that required it. Researchers call it hypervigilance, a state of heightened sensory alert. The nervous system permanently scanning for threat. In children who grew up in unpredictable homes, the system became extraordinarily refined, because refinement was required to survive. They learned to read the pause before the sentence, the footstep on the stairs, the specific quality of a silence. Over years, this reading became second nature, not something they decided to do, something they became. Research confirms this is not imagination. People who grew up in unpredictable homes develop measurably superior threat detection. They detect micro-expressions in milliseconds, read posture changes most people never register, pick up the information living in the gap between words. They know when someone is lying, when someone is hurting but pretending not to be, when something in a room has shifted that nobody named. What do you see in rooms that others seem to miss? The thing you always notice but never say out loud. Tell us in the comments. We want to know. The first thing they carry is knowledge nobody asked them to hold, information received without permission to put it down. They know things they were not told, see dynamics they were not shown, and often cannot explain how they know without sounding strange. They often know things before the person they know it about has admitted it to themselves. That specific loneliness has no name. They watch things unfold that they predicted weeks or months earlier, in silence, never saying, "I saw this coming." The discipline of not always saying what you see is its own exhausting full-time work. Most people have no idea. The first cost is that they cannot fully relax in social environments because the reading never stops. After social events, they need significant recovery time, not because they are introverted, because they have been working in every room they entered. The second cost is the relationships, partners and friends who feel perpetually seen through, who cannot maintain any pretense around them. The third cost is the loneliness of always knowing more than the room, of a perception that runs ahead of the conversation. They are extraordinarily empathetic, but empathy without boundaries is just hypervigilance in a warmer coat. Have you ever known something was wrong before a single word was spoken? Tell us what that feels like from the inside. Someone needs it. But here is what the perception gives them. They are the person in the room who notices the one who needs noticing. They are the friend you call when you are not okay and cannot say why. Because they already know, and they came anyway. They are extraordinary in crisis. When everyone else freezes or flees, they are already reading the room and moving. The wound that built the perception also built the most deeply caring people in any room. Both things are true. Both are real. They learned to see in the dark, so they could also bring light to it for everyone who could not. The hidden cost nobody names is the longing for someone who can read them the way they read everyone else. The cost of never being able to be in a room without working in it, of rest that always costs more than it gives. And yet they would not trade the seeing, because the seeing is also the way they have loved every person they have ever loved. The seeing came from survival, but it stayed for love, and that is something nobody can take. The child who read the room to survive became the adult who reads the room to love. The skill did not change, only what it was for. What they see is not a burden they were cursed with. It is a language they were given by the most demanding teacher they ever had. The home that required you to read it also made you the person who can see what others will always miss. You were not too sensitive. You were too accurate for a world that preferred not to be read. If this named the thing you always did but never had the right words for, drop one thing in the comments. What is the hardest part of seeing what others don't? Someone in the comments needs to read your answer. Subscribe. Every week this channel names the things you always felt but never had words for yet.